Another thing which leaders can do is use ideas that are taken from improvisational theater. Second City, those folks, because their creativity and their brilliance comes out of creating an environment where it's safe to try goofy stuff. So things like one conversation at a time, just making sure that people are focusing on one thing at a time, staying focused on one particular topic, encouraging wild ideas, deferring judgment, and building on the ideas of others. And one of the themes from improvisational theater is something they call bring a brick, not a cathedral. It means you don't have to have the whole thing built before you share it with somebody. Bring a brick, and someone else can add a brick, and before long, you've got your cathedral. We'll be talking about that again later when we talk about the agile approach to development, which is a very interesting new approach that I'm all excited about. So bring a brick, not a cathedral. Another one of the mantras from improvisational theater is yes and. Okay. So this goes back to what I said a minute ago about critical thinking, that we're so good at saying yes, but this is what's wrong with your idea. So if you think about the way a sketch is put together in improvisational theater, if I say, oh, look, there's my dog, and the other person says, there's no dog there, we're done. I mean, the skit is finished, right? As opposed to if the other person says, yes, and the dog is wearing a ballerina's tutu, then we've got something to go on, right? So yes and is a fundamental principle of how improvisational actors work together. It is absolutely fascinating what happens in a workplace when people keep yes and in mind. When you go to your boss and you have an idea and you share it with him, and instead of saying, okay, but I don't think it's going to fit in the budget this year, or the yes but response that most of us are automatically trained to do, he says, yes, and I'd like you to go talk with Fred about that idea and see what the two of you can do with it. It's a completely different approach. So here's a little exercise. Again, pair up with one or two other people, and somebody start with an idea, and the response has to be yes and then go with that. So I say, I think people should have more videos in their PowerPoint presentations, and you say, yes, and I think they should be funny. Okay? And then the next person builds on that. Every single statement in your conversation has to start with yes and. It's likely to get funny fairly quickly. Nonetheless, it's a fascinating exercise, partly in how hard it is to do. So I'd like you to just connect with each other for a few minutes and do a yes and conversation and see what happens. Go.